To Persuade. I'm going to be giving you some information about how to lay the foundation and set the stage to be a successful influencer, motivator, and persuader. I'm going to talk to you about how you actually can do the influencing when you have the attention of your audience, what you need to say and not say, and how you say it and don't say it. And then I'm going to talk about getting commitment, so that not only will you persuade them and influence and motivate your audience, but you're also going to get a commitment from them. Just a few logistics. I don't think I need to point this out. You figure this out. Any information you need or questions you have, you can put it right there. You can send it to just me, or you can send it to the group. My very, very efficient and wonderful assistant, Rhonda Hill, is on the line, and if you're trying to get my attention and you don't, she'll have her eagle eye out. So if you lose me, or I'm too loud or too soft or whatever, or you just have a question, go ahead and feel free to let me know. All right, let's just do a little bit of a quick poll and find out who's here. How do you spend your days? Now, Rhonda, Eagle Eye Rhonda, pointed out that I did not put in napping, but there was only 5 spots. So let's see, the votes are coming in, and it's quite a mixture of a group. Okay, I think that's giving another minute as the votes come in. And okay, I think a few more people are joining us, it looks like it. Gonna get our votes. Okay, so we'll see. So there you have it. Pretty much a mix, procurement and sales, and a lot of others which I just didn't have room on the poll for, and a few people in finance and operations. Okay, so what that lets us know is everyone needs to be persuasive, no matter where you are, and my hope is that all of you, no matter what chair you sit in, will find some of this information helpful. So as you know, I am a negotiation consultant. It's what I spend most of my time doing. And so you might ask the question, what is the difference between persuasion and negotiation? But I think that you probably know the answer to that. And the more important question is, when do you persuade and when do you negotiate? A lot of times I'm working with a team that's negotiating something, and it's clear to me that at a certain point they need to stop negotiating and start persuading. Or I'm thinking to myself, they're not negotiating, they're persuading, and they really need to be negotiating. So they're close cousins. A lot of the strategies overlap. But you're going to be more interested in persuading than negotiating in a few situations. One, when you haven't actually gotten your audience to the table yet. In other words, let's say you have decided that you really need to add a new member to your team. And you have a lot of information to back it up. But now you need to persuade your colleagues of that fact, and you need to persuade them to agree to it. So there's nothing to negotiate at this point. Once you've successfully persuaded your teammates that, yes, we in fact do need to hire someone new, then there's a lot to negotiate. How much you pay them, who hires them, what their job is, so on and so forth. So also when it involves emotions and attitudes, you are more persuading than negotiating. For example, I may tell you that you need to stay a few more hours and help me finish a project. I'm not negotiating with you, but I may then want to persuade you as to why this is a good investment of your time. And I may want to try to persuade you to be more, less resentful and more enthusiastic about it. So those are the situations when you persuade and negotiate. I certainly can do a whole webinar on the difference, but I don't have time today. I'm hoping I'll have a future webinar discussing the signs of what to look for when you should move from negotiation to persuasion and vice versa. What I'd like you to do now is just take a quick minute and think about someone you would like to persuade to do something, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a customer, whether it's a buyer, whether it's a colleague, or maybe it's you want to convince your family that you should go to Mexico this year instead of skiing, or maybe you want to get your neighborhood to put up a new stop sign. But if you think about it, it'll help you move through these persuasion strategies. So it might be that you're looking to change someone's attitude, get more support, do something different, information, whatever it is, think about it. And if you have something in mind and you're willing to share it, it would be interesting for us to see what all the members who are on this webinar of what their persuasion goal is. So if you have something that comes to mind and you're willing to share it, go ahead and write it in the box right here. And let's see if people have anything in mind. Give it a few minutes. Okay, well, I want to keep moving. So if anything comes to mind of where you're looking to persuade others, keep it in mind. So I do want to use a case study to talk about these persuasion strategies to make them come alive to you. And I'm going to introduce you to Sam, the sales manager. Oh, here Stephanie has one. She's trying to persuade a colleague to add some uncertainty calculations. That sounds very interesting, Stephanie. And Ray's trying to get some people to work together on a common goal. Okay, great. So these strategies hopefully will help you. So I was working with the leadership team regarding a negotiation that they were, I was helping them strategize and walk through a negotiation. And at one point in the meeting, Sam pulled me aside during a break. And Sam was the newest member of this leadership team. And he let me know that previously, in his previous job, where he was also a sales manager and quite successful also, that he found that his credibility and his ability to have influence in the leadership team was almost non-existent. And he pretty much knew why it was, and that is because this is how Sam persuaded. He had the facts, he knew he was right, he knew it would be a good thing to do it, and so he laid it out and expected the leadership team to agree with him. After all, people are rational, right? And he found that he was not very productive in making the changes and influencing others to institute products and systems and strategies that he wanted to do that he knew would be good for the company. But it's not really Sam's fault, because we do tend to have an old school vision of persuasion as someone who talks very fast, put the facts out, and pretty much expects others to move along. But now we know better. We've done quite a bit of research on who is persuasive. And the truth about persuasion is that it's actually not a one-sided deal. Believe it or not, just like in negotiating, you're compromising, and persuading, you're also compromising. It's very hard to actually influence and motivate others unless you're willing to also be flexible. It's not something that happens quickly, and similar to negotiating, you really have to understand the other side's position before they'll listen to you. So that's why we have to spend so much time laying the groundwork in order to be persuasive and motivating. So I'm going to talk about 4 strategies to implement, to lay the foundation, set the stage, till the soil, prepare your audience to be persuaded. So we first have to ask ourselves the question, are we perceived as credible? Because people are not going to want to take seriously or be persuaded by someone who they don't perceive as credible. So in the situation of Sam, he needed to really know the facts. He needed to know the facts about why the current compensation package was why it was, how it evolved there, where it's working, what the perception of the salespeople were about the current package, how the changes he wants to institute would affect everyone long-term and short-term. And he had to do a lot of research about what his competitors were doing regarding their compensation packages and why. So he needed to be an expert at it. Just like if you want to put a stop sign in your neighborhood, you need to know who pays for it, what it costs, what the upside and downside, as well as everyone's perception about it. Not only do you need to know the facts, but you need to know the facts that your audience you're trying to persuade has. What is their history regarding their experience with compensation packages, and what do they actually even know about the current compensation package. And then you have to build a credible team where you're weak. So I'll give you an example. When I let my colleagues at Watershed Associates know that I want to change, let's say, a worksheet or a role play that we're using, I usually get a collective groan from them until I say, but Rhonda and Uriella will be editing it. And then they're interested, because I do not have credibility as someone who's able to produce a high enough quality finished product without having someone edit it. So where you're weak and you don't have credibility, you need to go ahead and fill in the weaknesses with members of a credible team. So that's the first thing. Then simultaneously, you need to engage in dialogue. And it's similar to negotiating in that it surprises people to find out that how much listening is involved in not only the give and take of negotiating, but also persuading. In order to be able to actually develop a pitch that you're going to make, or to know which facts to roll out, or what will emotionally engage your counterpart, you first need to do quite a bit of extensive interviewing to understand what are their prejudice, thoughts, and feelings, what are their basic emotional drivers, what actually motivates them, and also what their experience is with it. So that's what Sam, the sales manager, set out to do. He started to interview people formally and informally and asked them questions, interviewed them casually, and really, really worked hard at listening. It's not something that comes easily to Sam. He knows that about himself, so he works pretty hard at it. The good news, kind of the awesome news actually, is that the process of actually engaging someone in dialogue actually is persuasive. All the research that is done on who is persuasive, I'm very attracted to the research by Jay Conger, who's written a lot about it. He used to be at UCLA, then he moved to McKenna University, and now he guest lectures at Harvard and London School. He has a leadership institute, and he spent decades interviewing and watching and observing leaders. And he discovered that there were definitely certain characteristics that the most persuasive leaders had, and they were flexible, open-minded, and willing to compromise. So people have an idea, a mistaken myth, that people who are persuasive are not flexible. And in actuality, it doesn't work. Nobody will be persuaded if you're not also willing to bend a little. It's also very helpful if, as you're discussing whatever it is, the issue is to invite them to disagree with you. Because if you invite them to disagree with you, it will A, give you a lot of information. Okay. And B, hold on a minute, John, I see, Rhonda, can you help John out? The sound's not working on his laptop, and somehow there's a number. Oh, great, Rhonda has it, great, okay. So if you invite disagreement, then your audience will be willing to have you disagree with them with an open mind. And now Sam needed to assess his likability, because for sure, you will not be persuaded by someone you don't like. It's not for sure that if you like them, you'll let them persuade you, but you'll never let them persuade you if you don't like them. So who do we like? We like people we have a connection to, an alliance with. You know how it is, you're sitting at some sort of social event, and you're not really very interested in, the people at your table until you find out somebody's from your hometown, or they played tennis in college like you did, or they went to Catholic school like you did, or they also have just taken up knitting. There's something about this alliance and connection that makes you feel that makes you be likable. And so it's a skill, being likable. It takes investment and time. You have to be willing to share your experiences and listen to their experiences. You have to have experiences together build alliance. And so Sam proceeded to create relationships and alliances with the leadership team. In downtime, where he would normally, maybe go onto his iPhone, he stayed. He stayed in the meetings. He had lunch with them. He socialized. He found ways to build connection. He was not being manipulative. He was actually he was actually building true relationships and likability. We also have to consider the timing. It takes a long time for people to move through the stages of change. Elevator pitches are a problem, and the reason they're a problem is because people are not receptive when they're stressed out or they have a lot on their mind. And so Sam had to arrange downtime when people were not busy with intense deadlines and not with a lot of their mind and not stressed out, found ways to be able to really have meaningful encounters with the leadership team, because that creates an open mind. So it takes a lot of planning and forethought as to when and how you're going to create relationship and pitch whatever it is you're trying to influence others for. And also, another thing about timing is you want to think about when you're considered to be most likable and most credible. In other words, if you recently had a past success, this would be a good time for you to go ahead and lay the foundation for further persuasion. And persuasion is not a one-way street. It involves reciprocity. So that meant for Sam that when people were talking in the leadership meeting about something that didn't interest him or concern him, he normally would turn off, get on his iPad, look at his notes, go get a cup of coffee. But he realized that was counterproductive. And so he engaged, and he was willing to be persuaded by them, and he was willing to make alliances with them and help them move their goals forward if he actually believed in them. Because people are willing to be persuaded by people who reciprocally do favors for them. And the key is the language you use. When someone says, thanks for that favor, you respond by saying, well, that's what we do. We exchange help. We help each other out. That's what we do here in this team. And so you're clear that you're expecting a give and take. So this is the groundwork for setting the stage: credibility, dialogue, likability, timing, and reciprocity. As you can see, it takes a lot of forethought and effort, very similar to negotiating. And now you're ready to go ahead and make your pitch and influence others. So I'm going to give you 4 strategies for doing this as well. This is really the meat of it. There's so much interesting research on this. I'm going to hopefully in the future do an entire webinar just on this. But for the sake of timing, I'm going to just give you the broad strokes. Once again, Jay Conger's done a lot of research on this. Williams and Miller have interviewed over 1,000 executives. Mazzocco and Green have done quite a bit of research on how people are persuaded, because people are persuaded both by their mind and their heart. Their emotions are involved, their guts are involved, as well as their rationale. And so you want to make your pitch that uses vivid language and metaphors that will basically address the underlying ego needs of the audience. So, sounds like a mouthful. Let me explain what I mean. Think of the most influential persuaders and the most influential people of the last century. The people who were really able to make huge changes in society. So what comes to mind for me is Gandhi and Martin Luther King. You might also, Hitler, not positively, but he certainly was extremely persuasive and influential. And you also might have your own person in history or in science or in literature who you found most persuasive. If you look at the language they use, the way they actually got people out of their chairs and to change their behaviors or change their attitudes, most of them use very vivid language and metaphors. So, for instance, you wouldn't say to your colleague, I need you to help me with this report. I'm trying to dig up some numbers here. You have a couple hours? you would say, I have an opportunity to save our company millions of dollars, which will affect all of the employees and even the taxpayers. In addition to this, we're going to, with this project, we're going to be able to minimize waste, which will really make a difference in the planet for our grandchildren. I mean, what would you rather do? So basically what I'm asking you to do is some research on the amount of waste we use. Not very glamorous. But when you talk about paint a picture and use language that's motivating and inspiring, that will basically begin to engage your audience. And metaphors are extremely, extremely powerful. I'll give you an example. I was sitting in a leadership meeting. It was actually a negotiation between two leaders, and it wasn't going very well. And finally, somebody on one of the teams said this. He said, you know how it is when you go into the shower and, you turn the water on, you get in the shower, and it's extremely hot. And so you move it a little to the left, to make it cold. And it's still hot. And so you move it a little bit more to the left to make it a little colder, and it's still hot. And so you move it a little more, and all of a sudden you're freezing. And he said, that's what's happening here now. Everyone is overcompensating for the mistakes both sides made in the past. And this overcompensation is keeping us from coming to agreement. It was magnificent. We all could completely relate to that experience, and it was exactly what was happening. And so the metaphor just changed our perception of what we were doing, because he very elegantly pointed out how completely ineffective it was. And so metaphors are magnificent things. So Sam had a little bit of trouble coming up with metaphors, and it very much depended on the underlying interests of who in the team he was talking about. For instance, one person on the team was very interested in getting out there, being on the forefront, being a leader, and everything, including compensation package. So the metaphor you would use about how, this is going into space, uncharted territory that's going to give you incredible information and really, make a difference in, in what you know about your world. And for another person who wants to minimize risk, he might say, this is about, building a vault, protecting the cash, so that no one, so that 20 years from now, we're as solid as we are today. He also used the metaphor of, this is like building the Great Wall of China. It's going to take a long time, a lot of effort, a lot of people. But when you're done, it's going to be very meaningful for a lot of people and have a great impact for a long time to come. So depending on who you're talking to, which you will know what drives them because of the dialogue you had and engaging them in discussion, you're going to paint a picture. After you do that, you then go ahead and bring the rationale and the facts, showing them why this is rationally also not an irresponsible project to take on or attitude to have or, or new way of doing things. Now, how much you persuade them with metaphor and how much you persuade with facts really varies, and there's been quite a bit of research on this, especially Williams and Miller have done, on the kind of person who needs more of one than the other. And at some point in the future, I hope to give you information about that. So, but you hit both sides of the brain, and also their underlying ego needs, their emotional side, or what's experiential to them. As you're making your pitch, you want to be the one to reveal the shortcomings of the issue that you are trying to persuade them, whether it's an attitude or to project, to buy a new product, to sell them something cheaper. You want to bring up the shortcomings because it will give you credibility. It will make you seem more trustworthy. It will have them believe that you've actually done a lot of homework on it and you know what you're talking about. You also then can overcome the shortcomings if you bring them up. Also, this is very interesting. There have been 42 meta-studies done on the use of the word "but you are free to." It's called the BYFT PYFT, that's what it's called. And the first study of this was done a few decades ago in France, where a bunch of college students went out to panhandle, and what they would say is, would you please give me 2 francs, or you're free to give me what you want. And what they found is that when you use the "but you are free to" statement, it increased the willingness of their audience to give them what they wanted by 50%. So a gentleman named Cunningham wrote an article based on these 42. He did a meta study of the 42 studies. It was in a communication journal from Western Illinois University. And over and over and over again, it seems like people really enjoy the fact that you have made it clear that you are not trying to coerce them into doing something. That's old school persuasion. And by saying, but of course, this product is more expensive, but in the end it saves money. But of course, you're free to buy the less expensive one if you want. Wording it like that, for some reason, seems to make people more willing to actually respond to your request affirmatively. Now, there are 2 caveats to that. It only works when you're making a direct request, or it works better when you're making a direct request of the person right in front of you. It doesn't really work by email because it's obvious they're free to do whatever they want. And with salespeople, it's a little bit less effective because they always know that you have really your best interests in mind. So, but give it a try. Try it with your family. I really like to go, at 6 o'clock, but you're free to go at 6:15 if you want. See what happens. And along the way, you want to go ahead and turn your persuasive audience into allies. Instead of you being the only one trying to persuade others, try to get people to join along with you by appealing to what's their underlying interest, why it will benefit for them, and including them in the process, asking them to give feedback, asking them to give their opinion at meetings and so forth, and giving them a lot of credit for doing this. So as you build alliances, and that's what Sam did, is he started to build alliances of other leadership team members who agreed with him over time. And so now all of a sudden it wasn't him convincing the team, it was a group. So that's also very powerful in the persuasion process. You want to, along the way, as you're making requests along the way, as same with BYFT, give them choices. So start with small choices. So Sam didn't go in and say, I'd like you to read a 100-page report on what's wrong with our compensation package. He said, at the next meeting, I'd like you to give me 10 minutes to throw out an idea and see what you think about it. So he started small, and also along the way you give people choices. So you say, would you like to be involved in the research, or would you like to just get the results from us? So giving it choices along the way. So these are the ways you influence once you build the foundation, and by matching, using vivid language and metaphor with your facts. Make sure that you bring up the shortcomings, develop allies, and give choices. And then finally, we're in our closure here, you want to gain commitments along the way. You don't wait until you've done all this groundwork and then at the very end say, so can we do it? You ask for small commitments along the way, and you want to get your audience to publicly agree. Because something happens psychologically that if I say in front of other people, yes, 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 I'm willing to do that, I'm no longer being persuaded by you. It is now my issue. It's now something I care about. So Sam had to say, would you be willing to test out the new compensation package in the Northwest for 3 months? Who are you willing to do that? So, and then once they said yes, he was able to then make it it was now their project, and therefore they were really rooting and invested in success. It's always impactful when you can get it in writing. Now, this is not so easy. And Sam really struggled with this because you don't want to ask publicly for them to do something that puts them on the spot that they resent you asking, or they're not willing to say yes. So it takes a lot of forethought when and how you're going to ask them. Make sure that they're already, persuaded enough to where it's not such a big leap for them. and where they're comfortable saying yes. And so you really have to do some homework about in what context they can make this commitment. So now this is just a little bit of a sidestep before I close up, because I'm on my last minute. And this is something in the future I also hope to talk to you about, and that is sitting on the other side of the table and asking yourselves, am I a good balance of allowing myself to be persuaded as well as persuading others? And it's really a philosophical discussion, the value of being someone who's able to be persuaded, and when you should, and when it's good for you within your company as well as your life, and when it's not. So it's just something to consider. And I ran into this extremely interesting example of that. It's not work related, but it's pretty impactful. You might be familiar with the Gottman Institute. He did something nobody does, and that is he was able to predict the accuracy with a 94 degree of accuracy who will get divorced and not divorced by watching couples in a laboratory discuss things. And I mean, nobody can predict anything with a 94%, you know, weather, nothing, war, the economy, stocks. So that's what makes it so profound. And this is a very interesting thing I found, and that is he found that when husbands were willing to accept influence and be persuaded by their wives, it increased their prediction of marital success by 80%. And apparently women are usually, the wives are a certain amount of balance in their life of allowing themselves to be persuaded by their husband. And when that balance is matched by the husband, it predicts success in their marriage. So it is something to think about too. Should I allow myself to be persuaded in this situation? Okay, so that's really what I wanted to say in this webinar. It's a lot to think over, and as we always do in all of our watershed workshops, we always encourage you to set an action plan. So think of who you're looking to persuade, and think about where you are in the stage of persuasion. Are you setting the stage? Are you already ready to make your pitch and influence, or are you ready to ask for commitment? And then think of these strategies and which one or two do you want to go ahead and focus on. And I wish you much, much success with that. So now it's my turn to ask for reciprocity, because life is give and take. I'm so pleased that you were able to join this webinar, and I'm so pleased that I was able to give you this information. And the trade that I'm asking for now is for you to keep me in mind when you and your colleagues or anyone you know are interested in negotiation persuasion training. So please keep in touch. LinkedIn is a good way to keep in touch with me as I continue to have future webinars. And here's all the information of how to get in touch with me. I do want to let you know that when you leave the webinar, you will be sent to a survey. It's 3 questions. It should take not more than 15 seconds. The platform of webinar insists that you put your first and last name. I tried to get that off, but I couldn't. So if you would rather respond to the survey anonymously, feel free just to put initials, make up a name, ABC, Mickey Mouse, whatever you want. I'm also asking you what interests you in future webinars. So I appreciate any feedback that you give me. And that's it. I'm out of time. I'm more than happy to stay online at this point. If you have any questions or yes, one more thing too I forgot to say, and that is after you fill out the survey, you'll be sent to a link which has a one-sheet that lists all of these persuasion strategies. So, you know, in case you forget what they are, you'll be able to download and print out that one sheet. So, thanks a lot for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I think the best thing to do at this point in the game is to type them in, and then I will be happy to respond to them. So thanks so much for your time, and stay warm, stay happy. Did you see what my brother wrote? Being a little afraid of your spouse is a good thing. I know your spouse, Sue. There's nothing to be afraid of. So keep in touch. Thanks so much, Stephanie. Keep in touch, please. After I train you, I miss you. So it's nice to be in touch. And keep in touch with you. I'm not sure what you mean be shared. You mean will it be? It is recorded. Oh yes, something else I forgot to tell you, and that is eventually in the next hopefully 2 months, I am creating a blog so I can continue to share information as I continue to do research and have experiences and learn on my own. And I will I will send you a link once the blog is up, and also I hope to have this recording online. So, and Edwina, hopefully I'll do this webinar again for people who couldn't attend, let's say in the next 3 or 4 months. So I'm not sure if that's what you meant by being shared. Other questions, comments, thoughts? I know. Getting feedback, it was a lot of information, probably too much. I tend to do that. Thanks. Thanks so much. Thanks. Well, Stephanie's asking, is this based on the premise that the other side is willing to discuss? Actually, no. The whole idea is to be able to use these strategies to persuade them to discuss. It is true you have to get them to listen to you, but that's where you start with dialogue. You're welcome, Sue. You're welcome. Goodbye, Lumen Brands people. I miss you. Keep in touch. Oh my goodness, Todd. Stay warm, okay? Any other questions? Oh, yes, Ray. He's awesome. He's a little limited. I feel like you need to expand on what he says. But, it's been a while since I've read his research. I remember I found him a little bit, maybe one-dimensional. I guess this is the thing about him, is he's very tactic-oriented. He's like, do this, say this. And I think that that's good, but I'm not sure that he does enough laying the groundwork. His book is good, though. He has a lot of good, quick quick information about certain words to use and not use. Bye, Hannah. Thanks for joining. Anybody else? Other questions? Right. I agree, Ray. Thank you. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for joining us. Keep in touch, okay? Oh, I'm so happy, Ray. That's awesome. I'm so happy. I'll see you then. That is really awesome. Oh, Edwina, I do workshops for the Institute of Management Studies, of which members can attend, and I'm going to be doing 3 in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be in Atlanta, San Francisco, and Detroit. Thanks, Stephanie. So, Rhonda, what are the dates? The 12th, I think 9th, 10th, and 12th. Check if your company, Edwina, is a member of Institute of Management Studies, Institute for Management Studies, and then you can join if you'd like. Oh, Edwina, you live in Atlanta. Okay, the thing to do is to email me, okay? And I will send you the information. There, Rhonda gave the dates. 10th, I'll be the 11th in Atlanta. So email me, And I will send you a link to the Institute for Management Studies so you can find out if your organization is a member. And then if you're a member, you just have to talk your boss into paying for you to go. Okay, great. Any other questions? Give it a couple